The gods had condemned Sisyphus to ceaselessly rolling a rock to the top of a mountain, whence the stone would fall back of its own weight. They had thought, with some reason, that there is no more dreadful punishment than futile and hopeless labor. Albert Camus.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to Mentality. My name is Gambo, and as always, I'm here with Simmons. Today, we're discussing the rat race. What is the rat race? Who is it for? And why you should or should not try to escape it. Stay tuned while we chop it up in another interesting episode. Welcome back to the show, guys.
My mans.
Drew, how you feeling today, bro?
Same old, bro. A little hungover, but I'm chilling. I'm here. How you feeling, man?
A little weekend activities you got going on?
Yes, sir.
All right, well, today we're going to get into it, and we're going to be talking about the rat race, how to escape it, and why you should or should not. So the quote that you gave, man, can you give a little more backstory on that? It was very profound, but a little vague for those who don't know the story.
All right, so if you're not up to your Greek mythology, as your boy here, my YouTube channels is filled with all that shit. The story of Sisyphus, keep it short and sweet to the point. Sisyphus was a god, one of Zeus's children. Zeus had to punish Sisyphus best way he saw fit. You're going to take this giant-ass boulder, you're going to roll it to the top of this mountain, and as soon as you get up to the top of the mountain, it's just going to fall right back down to the bottom. You will do this every single day for all of eternity. The end.
Damn. Sounds a little cruel.
A little bit. This is a dick, but whatever.
Yeah, it sounds like he definitely
issues.
was, man. But anyhow, so that kind of ties into the episode because of the ongoing and reoccurring work that Sisyphus has to put in, right? It's an ongoing thing. It's an endless loop, if you will, almost like Doctor Strange, with Dormammu, where you're stuck in that time loop.
Can't make a bargain.
And you just keep on going with that. So that's kind of how we see the rat race, at least from an outside perspective. I think it was also helpful to kind of just talk about what is the rat race. What do you think the rat race is?
So, to me, the rat race is I'm gonna tell you what the rat race is not. The rat race is not a 9-to-5 job. It's not a career. It's not having to work for money. I don't think. I think the rat race is a consistent striving for an end goal that you can already have. The rat race is dissatisfaction with your current state. And that can be seen at the highest level of executives. They gotta get more, they gotta do more, they gotta have bigger houses, bigger yachts. But it can also be seen on a more tangible scale of, I work 3 jobs to take care of my kids. But in working those jobs, you never see your kids.
Huh.
You always think that, all right, I gotta, because the most important thing is money so that I can afford to do things with my kids. I need to afford to be able to send them to a good school. I need to be able to afford to send them to summer camp. They need to play on every sports team and all that costs money, which I get. Trust me, kids are expensive. But in doing so, you see your kids maybe 2-3 hours a day, maybe. Like, a lot of times you work shift work, you work night shift, you barely ever see your kids. And then before you know it, you just got fucking strangers in the house at this point.
That's an interesting perspective. Honestly, kind of caught me off guard a little bit. But like, so that's a good way of putting it. The rat race is not necessarily like a 9-to-5. It's more of a thing, like you say, you can't really attain, or even if you're trying to attain it, you're losing a lot of great aspects from your life. But couldn't that kind of be like counter argued to say that just because you're necessarily like working long hours, or you might not be there for your family, you might not physically be there all the time to see your kids. Maybe that's something that you prefer. I mean, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but there can also be an argument that's made for the fact that, yeah, I might not see my family all the time, but I'm very involved in their lives when I am there, versus someone who might see their family all the time, but they're not really engaged. Like, you could be at home, but you're not really in your kid's life. You know what I mean? So I feel like that could be an argument that's made for that. And so I guess the point that I'm trying to drive home is that, is the rat race something that you kind of do willingly but doesn't pay out the dividends that you expect?
It's a good question. The rat race is something that it really all depends on what your end goal is. If you want to work to be self sufficient, you want to work to have free time, you want to work to build wealth, like if that's like if those are your end goals, I want wealth, I want my own time back, I want autonomy in everything that I do. Are there ways to go about getting it outside of the rat race? Sure. We have one very famous and traditional way of doing it. You work for X amount of years, you get a pension, Social Security kicks in, and you live out your old age, and then you die. Fantastic, glorious. Put it on a bumper sticker. This kind of goes a little bit of like how you want to spend your time, really. Really, kind of what it boils down to is like, what do you want to do with your
I
time?
agree.
Not what should you do, not what are you gonna do, what would be best if you. It's like, what do you want to do with your time?
But I feel like those are not the only constraining factors when it comes to like that aspect, because like we all have to make decisions, and it's not always we don't always get to do what we want to do, if you know what I mean. So I guess like why do you think people kind of like opt to like be in the rat race, if we're define the rat race as something that people do that they don't always necessarily want to do, or they feel like they probably just feel like it's the right thing to do? Like why do
It's
you think people
because
opt into it?
they want to eventually get to a point where they are doing what they want to do.
Mm.
It's kind of like saving money. Like saving money now is gonna have more money later. It's like, why can't I just use the money now to get what I want now? Kind of like that logic. Doesn't make that much sense when you put it like that, but it is something that at least I've noticed. You spend all this time working and working and working and working for the promise of a better future, but you miss out on a lot of things along the way. And again, I'm not knocking working by
Mm.
any stretch of the imagination, but I'm more so knocking the obsession of working to create a desired end goal. I know I'm like fucking super airy fairy with the shit.
No, but it sounds like you're saying the key word here is obsession.
I think that is my root is the obsession of working endlessly, tirelessly, continued sacrifice, continued staying late at the office, continued above and beyond for the sake of getting more.
Right. But so a couple of things with that, because I feel like one, this was like a very prominent thing, especially in the past. You saw people like doing that very very often. People were crazy hours in the past. But I think as you like move forward now, like a lot of people are kind of like, I don't want to do that. Now the thing with that is, I guess the question that arises from that is, why are people also taking issue to like be a part of the rat race? And what is there a benefit to actually being in a rat race? Like, is it worth it for you to work all these hours, and or kind of be obsessed over this end goal that you want to be able to attain something that you feel like is going to be worth it in the future? Is that really going to pay off?
So, and something that I've kind of noticed as like the central theme of most of our episodes, you got to find a balance between the two.
Mm.
You got to have leisure time where you can fit it in, but you also got to grind. You got to hustle. You got to and insert other buzzword here. I've had the opportunity to talk to a lot of geriatric patients who are starting to get toward that reflecting on life type scenarios. They're about to start entering hospice care, or they just had a terrible accident and lost all their independence, and they refocus on what's what's really important and what's been the most important. And central theme for most of them, at least, is I wish that I spent less time at work, more time with family, more time with friends, more time not worrying so much about the future, the future, the future. Because I think that's another thing the rat race does is it takes you out of the present, really.
Mm.
Which is again, you should have goals. You should be thinking about your future. I'm not saying don't ever like let shit happen. Like nah, I'm saying the obsession with the obsession with the future paints the present as substandard, and you miss out on a lot of the good things that the president has. A lot of the good things right in front of you. You let a lot of that stuff slip by. So that's my biggest qualm with the rat race. Really, I would guess would be continued for all the effort you're putting in. The result you're getting is not as substantial as it could be.
On a personal level, that is.
Yes, on a personal level. Professionally, it's amazing. You're fucking probably CEO of your own company if you like work hard enough for it, sure. But again, if that's what you want, hey, more power to you.
See, because I think on the flip side, the argument that can be made for that is, yes, like you definitely enjoy life more. Well, let's assume that you enjoy life more if you're not participating in the rat race. However, when we look at someone building like a mega company, right, who probably is obsessed with something, right? I'm sure they have spent hours on hours on hours perfecting that craft or whatever it is that they're trying to build a lot better. And so with that comes a lot of obsession. But on the flip side, what that can turn into is a microcosm for springing out better life for everyone else. So, for example, I don't know exactly what Steve Jobs was like, but if you were to look at Steve Jobs, I'm sure he worked a lot. I would be surprised if he didn't. Guy was, not the smartest guy in terms of like the one coding and stuff like that, but I'm talking about just being able to bring his vision to life, and in turn, kind of helping people out by making life a lot much more connected and simplified and more enjoyable for them. So like, that's like looking at it from a grand scale level. You know what I mean? I think that's maybe one of the arguments that could be made for someone participating in the rat race in that sense. Unless we don't want to classify that as being in the rat race,
I was about
because
to
that's an
say, is
entrepreneur.
that really the rat race?
Well, see, that's the tough part, right? Because would you classify entrepreneurs to be in a rat race? Because they are absolutely obsessed with what it is that they're doing. There's certainly an obsession there. You have to be obsessed. Or are we classifying the rat race as someone who is just working a 9 to 5 and just grinding, day by day, working that 12-hour shift, working for a boss?
I would say entrepreneurs, while they do work twice as hard as a standard employee, they at the end of the day work for themselves. That's what they're doing exactly what they want to do.
Agreed.
They're spending their time exactly how they want to. Whether they're a failure or a success, it's because of their own effort. They're getting exactly what they want. They're doing what they want. I think
Right.
they've escaped the rat race entirely. They use the rat race because they have to get into a market of some kind, and they will eventually create their own rat race because as an employer, you create people to work for you. And you want your employees to do the best that they can for while paying them as this is gonna sound shady. Do the most while getting paid as little as I have to pay you.
I mean,
It's
that's just
just
business.
There's a business right there, but
So that's a good point. So I guess that makes sense. So you're not classifying entrepreneurs in that category, then that would make a lot more sense. So we're classifying folks who are working very hard day in day out for someone else and hoping that would in turn pay out a dividend in the future. That's kind of what we're looking at.
so I'm gonna specify it even further. There's two types of people who become doctors. It's people who love people and people who love money.
Mm.
If you become a doctor and you can give a shit about people, then I think you're in the rat race because you're doing it strictly for the pursuit of status. Because you get to say you're a doctor, you get the privileges of a doctor, you get the that coffee party, that cocktail party type of thing where it's just like, oh yes, I'm Doctor So and So, I work at so and so medical center, blah blah blah. Instead of like all that being a byproduct of your love for people.
Good point. So I guess you're not classifying people who do it for the clout as I'm sorry, you're classifying people who do it for the clout as rat racers, but you're not classifying the people who do it for the love of doing it as rat racers.
Yeah,
Touche.
yes, because if you're doing what you love, then you're doing everything that you want to do. Yeah, there's going to be things in there that you don't like. Like I love to work out. I don't like to do warm ups, but if I do warm ups, I'm gonna fuck myself up.
Right.
So I gotta do what I gotta do. But I'm still doing what I love at the end of the day.
I would agree with that. I would definitely agree with that, and I think a lot of times when we look at people who partake or who participate in that, it's typically people who feel like they have something to they want something to prove, or they feel like they can get some kind of return out of it in the future, and so they feel like the way to catch up ahead to like the elites of the world is by putting in a lot of work, typically for the clout, because I want to be perceived as X or I want to be perceived as Y. But you're right. In a very small subgroup of people, there are people who genuinely just enjoy, doing what it is that they do. My take on it is that there are pros and cons to both, right? There's a pro to being hardworking, being resilient, and just having a callous mind to be able to do whatever it is that you want to do. There's also a con, like you kind of mentioned earlier, where it is that if you choose to pursue or partake in that belief or that system, you are also going to be missing out on certain aspects of life, like loved ones and just enjoying life, or being happy in general. Typically, happy is solving for happy is something that's it's a combination of a lot of different things, and it's not just one category that can just make you happy. So I think you miss out on aspects of fulfillment in life, if you will, by just saying, hey, I think this is what I need to do because this is what's going to pay out for me in the future. That's not a bad mentality to have, but the outcome might not necessarily be what you're looking for, because it's technically a risk, right? Like, it's either you work hard now and you reap the benefits later, but it's possible that you could work hard now, miss out on everything, and you might still not get the benefits. Or you can enjoy everything now, but then you're SOL later. And so it's like a risk that you kind of have to fine tune and take.
I'll talk about myself because I think I know myself better than the rest of the entire planet.
Mm.
I I currently live in Germany. It's very easy to travel to different European countries. Easy to travel pretty much anywhere that's not America, for real, for real. North and South America, that is. Anywhere else in the
Mm.
world is easier and cheaper to travel to. Those experiences I definitely want to have. I dream of going to the Himalayas one day and fucking going to fucking Sahara Desert and all that. Finland. Yeah, Finland too. But I also have this thing called a job that I gotta go to. And I stay late most days. I work very, 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 I can't stress this enough, very hard
Why?
because I love my job.
Fair.
I'm doing everything that I want to do in my job, and like I have probably the most, like, you got to be committed in this job because like you'll probably die in it at some point if God forbid you gotta go to war or some shit like that, and some shit happens or you see some fucked up shit. Being in the medical field, you're definitely going to see some fucked up shit. I already have, and I haven't had much medical experience. But if I didn't love what I was doing, I wouldn't do shit. I would
Mm.
just go and fucking live hedonistically and just fucking do all the shit that I want to do. But I know that me working so hard now, I'll eventually get to the Himalayas. They ain't going nowhere. All the stuff is, well, global warming, but for the most part, they ain't going nowhere. I have to put that on the back burner now. I'll still go out and do the local countries and stuff like that, whatever's close by, what's in driving distance. If I gotta drive 12 hours to get to Italy, so be it. But the other more extravagant ones, the larger trips and all that stuff, I have to put those on hold until I have, number one, I can afford it. Because, like, hey, man, we make money. We don't be making that much money. And also, number two, because I need to, I want to be able to, like, thoroughly enjoy these places. And that's been my main gripe with travel, vacations in general. It's like I'm going to a city for maybe 3 days, 2 nights. There's so much stuff in like a single city that would take weeks to. I don't want to leave any stone unturned when I go to these places, but I gotta hit just like the key landmarks anytime I go somewhere. Which again, that's a blessing in and of itself. Like, I'm so happy and glad and grateful that I can do that. But I want to, when I go somewhere, I want to be in it. I want to I want to see all the every little unknown street, every little unknown restaurant, and every I want to get it all.
Right. You want to be immersed in the culture, and as you
I want
should.
I want total immersion, and I can't do that just yet. But I know that through my hard work and efforts, while also doing working hard at something that I like, I will get that eventually.
So it sounds to me like you're a rat racer.
I'm man, I'm in the game. They got me.
And I would agree because I feel the same way. I think, like, so for example, like if you will look at it, I'm someone who went to college and, did the traditional go to college, get a job, and work the 9 to 5. And like you said, like 9 to 5 is really an understatement because you work a lot longer than that typically. You'll stay later because you feel like you have something to prove and you enjoy what you're doing. And you hope that whatever it is that you're doing will be able to pay out more in the future by investing now, right? It's like a snowball effect where the more you put in now, the more you're gonna have later because that just is the outcome. There's actually a statistic just for anyone listening, by the way, that if you work with people, if you work at least 10% more than the people around you, that's gonna pay out about 40% more in the future. So just keep that in mind.
I believe that wholeheartedly,
Yeah, and so
wholeheartedly.
like it's almost like working out too, right? It's like whoever is gonna do the most reps probably gonna look the best. You probably gonna get the better results. Like let's not take into account genetics and stuff like that, because even with the workplace, you're gonna have luck and things of such. But that goes for anything that you're doing. If you're building your craft, as long as you're doing it for the right reasons and you're actually being effective, and I stress effective, not efficient, because effective actually proves results, right? You're being effective
Ooh, damn.
and yeah,
Yeah.
because a lot of people just care about efficiency, but efficiency just states that you're busy. You're just staying busy, and that's not really driving any outcome. I'm a results driven guy, right? I want to see the fruits of my labor being manifested. I want to see that. So you have to be calloused, you have to be committed, and you have to do whatever you're doing for the right reasons and be effective while doing so. So work hard, work long is my philosophy, but in doing so, you also have to be effective. You can't just say I was at the office or I was working on, I don't know, my YouTube channel or whatever it is that you're working on, and I was working on it for 20 hours, but you did the same amount of work that someone could have done in like 4 hours. You see what I'm saying? Because at that point, you're pretty much just wearing off your time. You're not actually driving results. So I guess on the flip side, for people who are not rat racers, will probably look at that and say, well, hey, look, I get to do all these things and I'm going to enjoy my life in very similar increments until the day I die. So for example, if I don't necessarily subscribe to working 40 hours a week or 40 plus hours a week, I'm just gonna do the minimum and also make sure I maximize my output in life and my enjoyment in life by spending time with my loved ones every time and living in the present until the day I die. That's also just a different philosophy. And I don't know if I necessarily disagree with that either. It's just difficult to say.
So I think the rat race is not just your job.
Mm.
Like, and I would say, like, if you have that mentality of I'm gonna be effective, then you should at least, if you're gonna subscribe to the philosophy, the same way you work super hard at work, put that same effort towards every aspect of your life.
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
And I don't mean that to say that like you're gonna be burnt out after fucking 5 days, because like if you have a rest day, then like you rest effectively as fuck. You fucking get that massage, you do that self massage, you do that foam roll, that cold shower, steam bath, whatever.
Mm.
Like if you want to take a off day, you go hard. You gonna have a cheat meal, you go hard. You gonna go travel, you go hard. You gonna go to work, go hard. You gonna be with your kids. Like fucking sitting in the same room as your kids, like it's better than nothing. Don't give me that. But like
Mm.
sitting down and talking to them,
Be
learning
there.
about them, watching, being fully present. If you're
Yes.
going whatever you do, however you want to spend your leisure time. I feel like the rat race really, if you don't have passion, then you are in the rat race. I can't even describe it like that even.
What do you mean by that though? Because I would say it's the opposite.
If you do have passion, then you're in the rat race is what you're saying.
Kind of. Well, I guess it depends on what you look at it. Because I was thinking like we kind of said the keyword of being in the rat race is kind of an obsessive behavior. And typically, when you are passionate about something, you get obsessive. So that kind of drives you to be the best, or it kind of drives you to be really good at whatever you're doing. So I feel like that kind of grinds the gears and kind of gets the chains turning, where you're just in the cyclical fucking thing, where you're just cranking out work and cranking out work and cranking out work because you're so obsessed that I don't know if that's technically, yeah, I guess it's technically not the rat race, but it's just that obsessive behavior can mimic what the rat race looks like.
I wouldn't say passion automatically breeds obsession. It's kind of like the same thing about being in love and falling in love. I think they're the two different things. For passion, that passion a is a state of being. It's a part of you. It's kind of what makes you you. It'd just be weirder if you didn't have this thing that you're passionate about. Obsessive is something that you don't have that. That's not really yours. Obsession owns you.
That's a good point.
You
That's
own
deep.
your
That's a good
passions.
point. I agree with that wholeheartedly. That's a solid point. One's controllable, one's not controllable. Drew Simmons 2020, folks.
Boom,
Obsession
son. Ooh,
controls you. Passion is
shit.
something that you own. I like that a lot, and that's a good point. I think you're absolutely right. That was hammer on the nail right there.
I feel like once you lose that, then you become Sisyphus of just rolling that rock up and down that fucking mountain until the end of time. You just go on with the motions of your life until you eventually die.
That's a good point because there's no way that man has any passion for rolling down that rock up,
Nah.
up and down that mountain. There's no possible
You got to
way.
do some mental gymnastics to be like, all right, today I'm gonna take this route and I'm gonna cut some corners over here, and I'm gonna go to the steep part today, do the flat part tomorrow. I mean, hey, maybe he does. He's doing it forever. I hope he does. Shit.
So
But
I guess my question is, do you think the rat race is good or bad?
I think it's the best thing we've got right now until you figure out something better. Like I can sit here all day and be like, this needs to happen, and like this is bad, this is bad. But if I don't got no alternatives to the shit, then it's like just stating the obvious at this point.
It's a point.
Are
It's a
there
good point.
alternatives to the rat race? I know some
Absolutely.
people have been able to escape it entirely. I haven't figured it out for myself just yet, but I would say any athlete has escaped the rat race. Any entertainer has escaped the rat race. Well, have they? Depends on the entertainer. Depends on the athlete. I don't know.
See, here's the thing. I think also a lot of times when we think about rat race, we think of it in terms of people who are able to generate passive income or not. Would you agree with that?
Mm.
So I think in that sense, the rat race shares a con, and I think that that's like the downside of the rat race. That's kind of what's like gloom and gloom about it, because is that you're working so hard, but your efforts are kind of going for someone else, as opposed to being able to put that in yourself. And so, like, the way I look at it is definitely like work hard, but also find a balance. If you can find different avenues of being able to create for yourself and be able to generate wealth for yourself, that is clearly ideal, especially now that we live in the internet age where you are able to build a business online. You're able to create content, and you have so many different avenues where you have to recognize that this is a window of opportunity that probably is not going to happen again. I'm not saying that there's not going to be any other opportunities to be able to generate passive income, but this is a very special time. So when I think about it in that sense, it just, I can't really say that the rat race is good either. You know, even though it's something that's good for you to be able to be grounded. I feel like the rat race kind of keeps you grounded. It keeps you disciplined, and it keeps you going. When you look at it from a monetary aspect, it's not always the best choice. Like, you're right, it's probably the most commonly best thing that we have, but that's probably why it's very fruitful for those who don't always succumb to that and are able to take the risk of saying, hey, I'm going to try to escape this. That's a major risk. But for those who it seems to pan out for, they clearly do very well. So is the rat race good or bad? I don't know. It depends on who you are. For me right now,
It really does.
I'm in the rat race, but I'm also leaning on other things, you know? So for me right now, I enjoy where I'm headed, but I certainly don't think what I do in the rat race is sustainable. I'm very young, so it makes sense for me to work very hard now because I can still enjoy things in a couple years. But I think it's dangerous to look at it that I'm gonna work very hard for 40 years and then retire at 60 or 70. You might not even make it to that point.
Facts. Statistically speaking,
Yeah,
like 55 if you're lucky, 60 if you're lucky. If you don't get some form of heart disease, which is the biggest killer around the world, over 50% of people are dying from heart disease of some kind.
and black men just die from regular table salt.
Just table salt.
Just table
That's
salt.
all. Make it taste a little better. Dead. Try to spice your life up. You played yourself. But see, that's you bring up a good point of like I can't see myself not working. As soon as I retire, I'm gonna
For sure.
start doing something else. Like I want to like
Absolutely.
the day I stop working is the day that I die, and that's
I
just
think I absolutely agree, and I think I just want to interject really quickly. I think people make the mistake of thinking that just because you generate some form of passive income, that means that you do not do things. No, you would rot your brain. You need, like
oh
you
yeah.
said, you need something that's passionate, that you're passionate about, to be able to do.
I feel like to have truly passive income, it has to be something that you have some semblance of passion towards. Like it's not that it's impossible if you can, but it's just gonna be it's not gonna be passive. It's gonna be active income.
Mm.
If you have to get up and you have to go do this, that, and the third, you have a second job. Congratulations.
Yeah.
But when it becomes I get to do or I want to do this to better or I want to implement this, it's just a hobby that you make money from.
Yeah.
And that's the a hard pill to swallow. Hard pill I had to swallow for real. When I was thinking of passive income streams, it's like, can I really see myself dealing with this bullshit at
Right.
like all throughout the day, like every day, all year, even Christmas? Like, you want me? I gotta work on Christmas, really? Martin Luther King Day? God damn.
Yeah, you're right, and that's the divide between people. That's the difference of mindset between those who are the rat racers and who are not. You know, who do you think the rat race is for?
Ooh, the rat race is for people who were able to escape the rat race.
What do you mean by that?
That's who benefits the most from it. The people who are able to escape the rat race usually create their own systems and structures that promote living a rat race lifestyle. So think about it. Like, let's go back to Steve Jobs.
Mm.
Steve Jobs escaped the rat race, created one of the most profitable companies of all time. Through that, he created a structure where there are now work conditions that are so detrimental that they have to put nets on the outside of the buildings to keep people from fucking killing themselves because their minds are going so numb with how hard they work.
Right.
That's the best I got on the top of my head. What do you think the rat race is for?
I think the rat race is for anyone who does not really care about the now. It's for anyone who basically I think is gonna be just complacent, just being there. That's kind of the way I look at it. It's it's certainly the easier route, and I don't mean that disrespectfully. I think it's the most common thing that we know. It's the best thing that we know that works now. So anyone who is gonna be complacent in doing so, I think it's kind of like for you. I mean, and when I say it's for you, I mean you're gonna benefit the most out of.
Nah, there's tons of people and tons of jobs where they look for someone who literally has a job because they know that food costs money.
Right.
And there's people who look for jobs that like they can tolerate the most, which again is like totally fine because they have other things in their life that they're more focused on, want to give
Right.
all their attention to. A lot of people want to be able to just turn their brain off for 8 hours, get that check every 2 weeks, and then
Exactly.
go on about their day. So I totally get that. It's for the complacent.
Exactly.
Which
That's
again, it's not a jab. It's not
because we
disrespectful.
do it. I mean, I do it. You know.
Facts.
I mean, I don't turn my brain off, but I actually see the value in being able to work for a check to, in hopes, be able to escape the rat race. I don't want to do it forever, personally, no. But if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right. I'm going to do it to the best of my ability. I'll tell you that much.
What would you say to your kids? They're out job hunting, and you have all this knowledge of working for people, working for companies, big corporations, little small businesses. What advice are you going to give your kids about entering that part of life?
I think I would tell them, if this is something you want to do, make sure you enjoy whatever it is that you're doing. That kind of lifestyle is most likely not going to be sustainable. And it's always helpful to think about what people can do for you and not what you could do for people. Sounds very selfish, but if you think about business, that is kind of the heart of business. We just spin business to say, hey, well, I'm giving you this and I'm creating X amount of jobs, but really, you're doing it for you. So I think my mentality would be, absolutely, you need to like the rat race is probably necessary for. I think I would definitely let my kids work in the very beginning stages because I think, like I said, it calluses you, it grounds you, and it disciplines you. It gets you to understand the value of hard work. When you put in X amount of hours, you get that check. There's something that does to your mind. Now, the issue is, I think, being stuck in that mindset to where you don't even want to like make something for yourself or make something of yourself outside of that existence. I think that's where the issue comes in and people kind of get trapped. And so that's what I would warn my kids of, not being complacent, living in that realm of thought. What do you think?
So, and I don't care if I become a billionaire in the next 20 years, my kids will be having jobs.
Mm-hmm.
My kids will work. I ain't paying for shit. They ain't getting my GI Bill. They ain't getting not a damn dollar. Not because I don't love them. It's
Because you love
because I
them,
love them. Exactly because I love them. I've
for
been
sure,
working since I was a fucking child, my damn self.
for sure.
I don't know too many people who sell lemonade door to door. My, and this is where it gets tricky because a lot of people use this as a crutch. It's like, yes, I want my kids to work. I want their work to be something that they're passionate about. But a lot of people kind of use that as an out to drift through life as they
Mm,
wait to find something that they are passionate about.
mm,
And I don't think that you will really understand what's important until you won't know what's important until someone else starts living your life for you.
mm.
And what I mean by that is once you become constrained to a job, constrained to a schedule, constrained to commitments, that's when you really see what things to you are most important. So I think the rat race, whether it be for your job or for your relationships, even, or your whatever it is that you do, of navigating that maze and having to navigate that maze to get that cheese, I feel like you have to have that to not only get what you actually want, but to appreciate what you get. I don't know if I'd ever be able to appreciate having a job where I can make my own schedule if I never had a job that didn't hold me to that standard of we're going to have you here for 18 hours. You're going to be here for 24 hours. And you're going to be doing just this one thing and nothing else. Once I eventually retire and like I can actually make my own schedule, I don't know what the fuck to do with myself. For real,
Right.
I'll just,
But
it's just
that's
going
a
to be so
good
damn
point.
great.
You have to appreciate the downturn in order to be able to get the upturn. But what if you never experience a downturn though? Like, in the sense that, like, maybe we're just progressing if you don't have to be in a rat race working that much. Maybe you can make your schedule. And that is the downturn for our kids. That's progression, technically. I'm not saying they don't understand the value of hard work, but they shouldn't have to go through exactly what we went through. And don't get me wrong, like my kids finna work, and they not finna get shit from me, but this knowledge. You see my point? But at the same token, it doesn't make sense to regress in order to teach someone a lesson. Like my kids shouldn't have to pay for college because I paid for college. That's a regression. I look at it like this, bro. Like we, because of our circumstance and our upbringing and our backgrounds, we had to be in a rat race, kind of, right? Or let's say, fuck it, we are in the rat race. But for me, I definitely don't want to stay in the rat race. It's not sustainable. But if I'm in a rat race, I'm going to do that shit to the best of my goddamn ability, right? But I definitely don't want to stick around in that rat race. I definitely want to do better. I want to get out of it, and I don't want to teach my kids to have to be in that same realm. What the hell do I look like when it's Steve Jobs and Andrew Carnegie's and Rockefellers, and I'm teaching my kids that hey, you just gotta be the plumber. No knock on plumbers or nothing. You just gotta be the guy sitting in front of the computer all day, working for the Rockefeller. It's benign. It's asinine to me. It's ridiculous. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Like eventually, like, cause even all those guys just listed, like, they started out working under somebody else,
Absolutely.
and they eventually were like, shit, I probably do the same thing better and make some more.
Right.
I think if you adjust for inflation, I think fucking the Rockefellers are like trillionaires almost.
It's ridiculous.
If like not something ridiculously close to that, like they made so much goddamn money doing what they wanted to do and shit. But
Or it doesn't necessarily have to be what they wanted to do, but they found a way to make. They found a way to like scale what is that they were doing. So it's not just them putting in the work anymore. Is that the fact that they've put in all the work, and that the work that other people are gonna put in towards the work that they've already started is gonna compound. So at that point, you're just scaling up your work, and you've done all the work. Say you put in like 10, 20 years of work, that work is just now going to compound to be millions of hours of work that you don't necessarily have to put input into anymore. And I think these are some things we need to teach our kids in the community that hey, like look, getting a job is cool, being a hard worker is good, but that's not the only thing that you have to contribute to. You can be the one that someone's working for you. Don't get me wrong, that's going to take a lot of hard work, a lot of thoughtful planning, and a lot of calculated risks, but it is possible. And we need to get outside of the mindset of that. I just need to work that 20-hour shift. I just need to work that 12-hour shift, and I need to be in the office all the time. Work hard. Work harder than everyone else around you. Don't get me wrong, but work hard with a plan. Don't just work hard to work hard because that's stupid.
you're just a hamster on a wheel.
Exactly.
Ain't going nowhere.
I will always stress the importance of hard work because I do not like lazy people. You will always lag
Can't stand
behind.
that shit.
I don't care if you're skillful, you still need to work hard because your hard work is going to prove itself to everybody else. But you just got to have that end goal. You got to have a roadmap of where it is that you want to be and not just say, I'm going to work for 40 years and I'm just going to reap the benefits hopefully when I'm 65 or 70. That's ridiculous.
Cause that's when you start losing your fucking mind. All this free time and you don't know what the fuck you like to do. Like,
And at,
damn.
and at the same token, don't be in your 20s saying, well, brother, I'm just enjoying life. So I'm just going to, just daydream and nap all day. That's ridiculous too. You have to work hard. Just work hard towards something. How do you think folks can succeed in the rat race, though, bro? How do you think people can make it?
They just keep playing the game. Once you really understand that, like, it doesn't matter where you work, what organization you work for. If you know how to play the game of your organization,
Mm-hmm.
then you will be King Rat. It's like it's
King Rat with
the
the cheese
term rat
fortress.
race is so it's so fucked up because it makes it automatically seem like a bad thing. But like it's like you gonna win the race. You gonna be in first place.
Mm-hmm.
But in order to get into first place, it's not really so much about just. It kind of goes back to what you was just saying. You got to have that roadmap. You got to have a vision of where you want to be. And if where you want to be is be first in place in the race, then you got to know what will get you there. And I think every organization, while yes, hard work will get you something, hard work in the right direction will reap you your most benefit.
Absolutely agreed. Hard work is a part of the formula. It's not the formula.
Big facts. If you have a job where it's strictly all about what you can produce, if you have like a certain quota, being the top producer is great, but also if you're the top producer and you're cool with the upper management,
Mm-hmm. Foot in the door.
can't nobody tell you shit.
And that's what I'm learning too, man. Like I'll use myself as an example. Like we had a discussion about college, right? And how we thought that, learning at college was like the key. And then we quickly realized that, hey, this is stupid. Right? Well, I wouldn't say quickly for me. It took me a minute, I ain't gonna lie. But
Yeah,
when I
me too.
learned that, I said, oh. And so, now me working in a corporate environment, I'm also learning the same thing that, hey, you need to learn to navigate in unusual ways, especially being a black man. You need to learn to navigate in ways that people are not doing, and more importantly, though, in ways that people are going to appreciate it. So hard work is definitely going to be one of the biggest aspects because, for one, people look at us to be kind of lazy already. Whether we like it or not, that's kind of a stigma that as black men we kind of have, that we're lazy and we don't take care of business. So you have to know that and, one, outwork everybody around you. Two, you have to be able to prove the results, because if you're just working hard and staying late, then, well, like, are you dumb? Do you just not get what's going on? At the same token,
Mm,
you also have to implement the characteristic of being, like you said, being a cool person and being easygoing that people can easily gravitate towards. So there's like a lot of different formulas, like you said, for different environments that you have to just kind of like learn. And I learned a lot from these white guys, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. I learned a lot from these white guys, and a lot of it is just a game, like you said. It really is a game that they play, and they have been given the tools to kind of like be ahead of it. So you learn a lot from them. Like a lot of them work very hard. A lot of my friends that I'm tight with, that I'm starting to get closer with, they work very hard, but they make it a point to kind of portray that image of that I'm working hard. Like I don't know exactly what they do because I'm not on the same teams as they are, but they certainly want to be portrayed as that very hardworking guy who's always busy, and at the same time is also not a jerk and is also kind of cool. So there's like a lot of political things that go into it that you have to just learn to maneuver around. Like you said, maneuver around the maze for that cheese. You have to be able to do that. And it's just gonna take the right peers and the right environment for you to be able to succeed in that.
hmm. Do you believe in luck?